What's up, everybody? My name is Vince. Welcome to the channel. Today, we have special guest, Mikey J. His nickname in South Philadelphia is the Master Plasterer from 2nd and Tasker. We're going to share a couple of secrets, a couple of tips and tricks. We know that's why you're here. You want the secret sauce, and it's coming right up after this message from our sponsor, VCG Construction. When it comes to DIY projects, it seems like when I get the phone calls from friends and family, it's not necessarily the hanging portion of the job. It seems like everybody has a pretty good grasp on getting the drywall up. The problems arise when people have to do things like finishing, spackling, and a lot of times people have problems with corner bead. So we're going to show you a couple of tips to help you when putting up your bead, but it's going to help you to get a more professional end product. We have a 10-foot bead and we have a little under 12 foot, right around 12 foot of wall, okay? A lot of people will get confused on how to continue their bead. This is one of the biggest questions I get. My bead's not long enough. How do I put the bead? A lot of people will make the mistake of wanting to put their bead up, and then they'll cut their piece of bead to meet up to their other piece of bead. They'll create themselves a situation where they have a clicker. It's like it's a spot where the two beads meet, and when you're running down finishing your bead, you're going to have a bump in the road. It's not going to be perfectly smooth. So here's your first trick. What you're going to do is cut yourself a piece of bead slightly larger than the space you need to fill, right? So if you look here, we needed like 15.5 inches, but instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to make it slightly bigger, and we're going to go like 18 inches. So all we're going to do is we're going to mark our bead at 18 inches. If you were making a 45 or you needed to be super accurate, you could mark this with a square. The other thing you could do is just go by your lines here. So you'll see it has little dimples. So as long as you stay on your line, you should be pretty doggone square. All we're going to do is we're going to take our piece, and like Mikey was asking, are we going to put this piece above the ceiling? Yeah, I mean, we would if we weren't trying to make a demonstratory type video here. If you had a long run like this and you had to splice it, what I do, and what a lot of people that I've worked with and taught me over the years, you want to put the splice at the floor. And there's multiple reasons for that. Number one, I feel like not as many people are going to look down as people are going to be looking up. That's what I was always explained to me, that people aren't going to look down. They're going to look up. Look at the artwork. They're going to look at crown molding. They're going to look up, not down. They're not going to notice it as low. The other thing is when you're running your corner with your knife, okay, as you're running down, it's going to be closer down to the floor. Finish out your bead. Nobody's going to notice it as much. The other thing is you want to, when you run your splice, you want to shingle it like I just showed you. You want the splice underneath because you don't want to get caught on the splice as you're running it down. Okay? You could get hung up. You're going to have less of a likelihood to forcing joint compound in between the pieces if they're shingled down in this manner and you run down your bead. At this point, you're probably wondering, hey, how should I secure my bead? The fastest, simplest way would be to get yourself a corner bead tool like this one. It's a crimper. Corner bead crimper, it's two parts. The tool and a hammer. Okay? All you do is ride along your bead, okay, and hit the corner bead tool. It crimps the corner bead onto the drywall. A lot of people don't really understand, but in using that method, what's holding this corner bead onto the drywall permanently is the joint compound. The crimps hold it temporarily until you can get joint compound onto it, and then the joint compound holds this corner bead in place. It also, these little holes, if there was voids, it will smooth in there. The joint compound will go in and will help to sturdy up this corner bead as well. In addition to it crimping it on, it also puts it on pretty much nearly perfect for you to finish the corner bead. Now, when we get down to our splice, we want to make sure we're going to crimp down this part here. What we're going to do is we're going to reverse our corner bead tool. We're going to make sure we're crimped down towards the end of the first piece. Then we're going to continue. Now we're crimped on, nice and secure. What's so great about the crimping tool is it sets the bead perfectly for you to apply joint compound and only have the bead exposed. And what do I mean? As an example, let's say you didn't have a crimping tool. Let's just say you were going to use screws or nails to set your bead. If it's not set perfectly, what will happen is as you apply the joint compound, you could have other parts of the bead become exposed. But as you can see, by carrying around your 6-inch knife, like we talk about in this video here, as you're doing your work, all you got to do to make sure you're prepared to move on to the next step is pull out your knife, okay, and run it down your work and make sure that you have the proper depth on all of your bead. You can see the gap in the knife? See how that bead is set perfect? So we can get joint compound on the wall, on the bead. We're gonna ride along the bead. The perfect amount of bead will show. Wherever you're going to pick up from, you're going to start, okay, and you're going to run all the way down. Okay, and then if you have to come up from the other direction, try to keep it as close to the floor as you can so that it's under your base. Okay, so we'll start here in the middle. As far as we could go, but instead of stopping, we're going to keep going all the way down as far as we can to the floor, and then come up while it's still under the base. Now you can see where our two pieces of bead met. There's a little bit where the clicker was. Okay, you'll fill that, and then as you put on your second coat, third coat, you will be able to cover it and it will sand out. I would like to say that, you know, if I wasn't doing a demonstration and the camera wasn't on, I'd be much faster, but I'm not. Because I'm not a professional finisher. I do know a little bit. I know enough to get by, right? That's why generally I let Mikey go on this stuff because he's the master plasterer from Second and Tasker. I'm not the master plasterer. Like I said, I know a few tips and tricks to get me by. I know what a lot of you are saying though. What would you do? What would you do if you didn't have a tool like this. Probably a lot of you would use screws or nails. And I know what you're saying. Vince, my corners, they're having metal pop out as I'm putting my joint compound on. All of this leg of the beads popping out. How do I get the bead to sit perfectly if I'm not using a tool like this? If you don't have a corner bead tool, what I find is a lot of people will use nails or screws. And it's fine. You could start in either direction. Like you could start from the bottom, you could work your way up. You could start from the top, work your way down. Whatever you want to do. They'll push their corner bead on. They'll hold it tight. They'll start running screws. And as they start running those screws, you'll start to pull the bead in one direction or the other. You'll see, you have plenty of space over here, but it's very tight over here. And when I say tight, what I mean is the bead will start to expose itself. This leg can begin to pop out this direction. It becomes like a wrestling match on how you're going to drive your screws so that your bead is set correctly. Here's a trick for you to help you to not have that happen. Before you set your bead, okay, what you can do is just give it a little bend, okay? Give it a little bend before you apply it to your corner, all the way up and down. Put it up onto your corner, and you'll see now that bead is sticking nice, it's sticking up. So you're able to get plenty of joint compound onto your bead. You'll get your screws, staggering your screws up the wall. Remember to run your knife as you're applying those screws. Okay, you'll see we're able to get plenty of joint compound here. We're able to get plenty of joint compound here. We're going to continue to run our knife to make sure we don't get this. We don't want clickers. So we're going to just drive our screw a little bit deeper, but not so much that it drags this leg over so much that this leg we're not able to get joint compound on. We're going to stagger those screws. Okay, we're going to pull it in just enough that we're able to get joint compound on it. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, our leg didn't pop out over here. We don't have a clicker here. We're able to get the joint compound on the cover to cover our bead. We have joint compound over here to cover our bead. There's no clicker there. Perfect. So remember, before you put your bead up, if you're going to be using screws, give it a little bend to help that bead stick out away from the corner. And if you like getting tips and tricks from a guy that doesn't do it all the time, but can get by when he has to do it, smash the like button, leave a comment down below. This is the great thing about our comment section and our community. We have guys, and listen, I hang drywall all the time. I don't finish drywall every day. It's not my thing. I'm not a finisher. I get the boards up, okay? But there's plenty of you out there that do finish it every day. Let us know down in the comment section below. What tips and tricks do you have? What can you help the community with? We appreciate it. With that, I want to say I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you all on the next one. Video's over, but I know you want more. So this is how you're going to get it. First thing you need to do is pretend you're this guy. And you're here at the birthplace of freedom. Now ring that bell like it's 1776 and let all notifications through. What? You're not subscribed yet? Well, smash this button here. After that, watch this video here, and maybe over here. See you later.